Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Father Frank Pavone, Priest for Life, is here. Before I get into this next segment, how can people help Priest for Life, Father? Can they go to a couple different websites that not only can they make a donation, but also get information on how to be a better pro-life evangelist?
Oh, yes, we've got everything they need. Endabortion.us is our mega main website, and they get access to every facet of our ministry. It's very multifaceted, as you know, but endabortion.us, that's our mission. Pro-Life Gift is our website, prolifegift.org, and we appreciate the support, and we thank you for always bringing that up, because, you know, we don't get financed by the Vatican or dioceses or anything like that, certainly not by the government, but by faithful supporters that we appreciate. But yes, material for churches, political involvement,
the election coming up,
healing after abortion, lots of information about that, and just a general pro-life education.
I have to ask you a question. I think you're the organization that gave an award to Bishop Strickland. Am I correct?
We did.
Yeah. Can you share what is that story? Give it.
Yeah. Every year we lead the prayer service on the morning of the March for Life. So the National March for Life in D.C. We've been leading it for like 25 years, and the award that we give every year is called the National Pro-Life Recognition Award. So this past year, even before Bishop Strickland got removed from his diocese, we had decided to give him the award, and he accepted. And so he came and gave some remarks, but we honored him at that prayer service, and we wanted to give him a good dose of encouragement and acknowledge what you were saying earlier, that, you know, his message is getting out there, strong and clear, and people appreciate it. And that's the way we fight back against this cancel culture. You know, we were talking before the break about how it happened to him, happens to me, happens to many others. And you know what? Our best response is our success. we don't have to rebel against the church. I mean, we're staying in the church.
Of course.
We're not going to let our enemies take away from us the most important thing, which is our faith and our relationship with Jesus. But our rebuke against the cancel culture, even in church, is our success.
Yes.
People we show that God is blessing the work we're doing, and people are continuing to listen to us and follow.
Father Frank Pavone, you were at a talk that Bishop Strickland gave at the CPAC last week.
Yes,
we call it the Bishop Strickland. He champions the sanctity of life, turning America into one nation under God. It was when I watched it. Now you were there. I want to get your reaction. But when I watched it over two times now, it made me proud to be Catholic, because I saw a bishop that I hadn't seen any bishop since Bishop Sheen do something like that, but a public announcement that just laid out the Catholic position of life, of morality, and called our nation to come back to God. Now, I want to ask you, first of all, what was your experience, and what do you think the people there thought of Bishop Strickland?
Well, I've been going to CPAC for years, and, you know, I've been a presence at CPAC as a Catholic priest. I've been able to say the masses there over the years. The people who head up CPAC, Matt and Mercy Schlapp, whom I'm sure many of our viewers also see in the secular media as they get in there and proclaim the message of pro-life and our other values, they're very, very devout Catholics, and they want to have a Catholic presence there at CPAC. Many of the attendees are Catholic. Of course, many are evangelical. There are a good Jewish component too of the attendees.
Good.
I was with Bishop Strickland there at CPAC for the couple of days that he was there. In fact, that day, just a few hours before his talk, we had a substantial meeting together, and we were sharing about the experience there. And I'm always very well received. He was very well received. In fact, for a good amount of the time I was with him, we were walking the hallways and doing interviews one after another, because there were broadcast outlets set up throughout the hallway, and there were also roving reporters. So practically every step we took, there was another reporter that wanted to talk to us, and it was wonderful. It really was. The message he gave was very much in line with the CPAC mindset, which is a combination of patriotism and faith, a combination of politics and religion, because they go together at their core. Yeah. Our founders were patriots who understood that patriotism necessarily includes faith, because the nation is founded on dependence upon God. The founders knew that, because remember, they were setting up a mechanism, and this was one of the bishop's key points in his talk. They set up a mechanism by which we could govern ourselves. The power and the sovereignty reside in the people. But how can a people govern themselves in the right direction, which is going to lead to prosperity rather than to destruction, if they don't know the difference between right and wrong? You've got to have religion and morality there as what our founders called an indispensable support to this mechanism of self-governance. Otherwise, you just have a mechanism. It's like having a car engine, right, where you don't know which side of the road to drive on or which direction to go.
Right.
You have to have the mechanism, which is the Constitution, but then you have to have the religion and morality, which are meant to, but the Constitution actually guarantees that those things would flourish in America. So the bishop said, look, we are under God.
Yes.
And that was one of the key points that he made. We are under God as a nation. It means we have to respect his moral law. It means we have to guard religious freedom. It means we have to be unapologetic, furthermore, about proclaiming the truth of God. And that was the other key point that he was making. Proclaiming the truth is actually a function not of pride and arrogance, as the other side would have us believe, but of humility. And he emphasized humility, his own humility. And he said, he gently urged the audience to, as we pursue what is good and right, to do so in the spirit of humility. Now, I wanted to expand on that because, sometimes people in the name of humility think that it means that we leave a margin of doubt about the things that we're saying. And here we have to make a distinction. If what you're saying is just your own opinion or your own conclusion about things, well, then yes, you should have a margin of doubt. In other words, we always have to be distrustful enough of our own limited intellect to be able to say, hey, I might be wrong. I'm open to correction. I can always learn from somebody, etc. But if what we are saying and proclaiming is truth that has been handed on to us from the ages and acknowledged universally, for example, the deposit of faith,
Amen,
or in our American tradition, the principles of our patriotism, our freedom, and our Constitution and our Declaration, well then, humility in that case doesn't mean a margin of doubt. Humility in that case means confidence, because, hey, for the same reason that I want to be a little bit tentative about anything which is my own conclusion, for that very same reason, I'm going to be completely confident about something that's not my conclusion, but that is the word of God, or that has been handed down by the founders of this country. So it's like I don't think, Terry, that this point, that this distinction is adequately made when we talk about Christian humility. Because isn't it like, don't you get the sense a lot of people, I have to be humble, so I can't be too strong in what I'm saying. No. Humility means you are strong. It's like the prophets, God is saying, I'm going to put my words in your mouth.
Yes.
Eat the scroll. I love those passages in the prophets and we see it in Revelation also. Eat the scroll, digest the word so it becomes so much a part of you. There's no room for doubt there. There's no room for you don't hold back.
Sure.
You go full force because it's not coming from you. It's coming from God.
I wanted to ask you, Father Frank, this question because you've had something in common with Bishop Strickland.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. You know where I'm going with this. And that is Bishop Strickland was relieved of his services as the ordinary for the Diocese of Tyler, Texas.
Yes.
It appears to me, I call him America's bishop, Jess and I call him that. It appears to me that God is working powerfully in the bishop's life because I know I do 2 hours a week with him on the radio and I'm hearing like we're building a new studio for him. He's getting lots of media attention. He's getting invites all over the world to proclaim Jesus Christ. It appears to me, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think that he's becoming more effective now than he was when he was a ordinary in Tyler, because the whole world is listening to him more now than ever. Am I onto something?
Oh, well, yes. And he and I were talking about this a little bit the other day. I said to him, you're being called America's bishop. And I said, doesn't that in essence illustrate the problem? Namely, that if someone is teaching and preaching the way that he does,
yes,
and he and I agreed about this, it should be like,
no big
what
deal.
else is new?
Right, exactly. Ordinary.
Every bishop is there's one on every corner. That should be our experience.
Standard, yeah.
But if someone who simply teaches and preaches Jesus and the deposit of faith is gaining international notoriety for that, boy, that's an indictment against the church in our day, because it's saying that we're in a desert. It's saying that there's a drought. It's saying that that if this is an anomaly, well, then there's a real lack of leadership here. So now he and I are in a similar situation. He was relieved of his position as diocesan bishop, and I was deprived of my priestly state.
Exactly.
Even though, in essence, of course, I still am still a priest.
Yeah.
But and by the way, the difference between the two, they tried to remove me from my position, but they didn't have any jurisdiction over that, because Priests for Life is governed by our own board of directors.
That was smart.
Whether I'm national director of Priests for Life is actually not up to the Pope.
Exactly.
It's up to our board, right?
Of course.
Because of the fact that, they tried to get me out of that position, it didn't work. So instead, they took me out of priesthood altogether.